It's no wonder that in 2021, San Francisco issued only 2,000 permits for new homes. Sure, there are people living in the streets, but that's because we want to make sure the apartments they don't live in are perfect. I don't fear AI anymore because it couldn't possibly be any more robotic than the humans who run things now. In San Francisco, the city's so nice you'll step in poop twice. So the city tried to build a public toilet last year, but then gave up when the cost hit $1.7 million. Not $1.7 million for a public toilet system, $1.7 million for one toilet.
Finally happened. Bill Maher turned his attention toward Gavin Newsom, sharply criticizing the direction California has taken under his leadership. What makes this moment surprising is that Maher had previously spoken favorably about the governor during several fiery monologues focused on the state. This time, however, Maher argued that excessive regulation and heavy taxation are suffocating California's economy. His commentary was pointed, humorous, and unapologetically blunt, marking a clear shift in tone and signaling growing frustration with the state's leadership.
It's the vast network of regulators, administrators, inspectors, contract reviewers, project managers, fee assessors, special commissioners, zoning officers, and consultants whose jobs seem to be to make sure nothing ever happens and then charge you for it. The people who answer the phone, "Permit office, how may I hinder you?"
Maher begins by calling out California's habit of endlessly creating new agencies, committees, and task forces that rarely seem to deliver tangible results. Instead of resolving core problems, the state adds layers of bureaucracy that slow everything down. Anyone living in California recognizes this reality. Even routine home repairs can become drawn-out affairs involving multiple permits, inspections, fees, and approvals. A job that should take hours often turns into weeks of waiting. Maher's criticism isn't about minor annoyance. It's about a governing structure that overwhelms residents while expanding itself endlessly, producing more paperwork than progress.
It feels like San Francisco is actually proud of being impossible. Asked about the toilet, a spokesman for the Department of Public Works said, "We are a city of public input." Okay, but I'm stepping in public output. Meanwhile, the median time to get approval to build a house there is 627 days. That's 217 days longer than it took to build the Empire State Building. You need 87 permits, 15 from the Planning Commission, 26 from the Public Utilities Commission and the Fire Department, 19 from building inspectors, 17 from the Public Works, 10 related to public spaces, and 1 from a guy in a T-shirt that says Federal Inspector.
He then highlights the maze developers face when trying to build housing in San Francisco. What should be a straightforward process becomes a marathon of permits, environmental reviews, design approvals, neighborhood hearings, and compliance checks. Each step adds delays and costs. By the time a builder clears the process, a massive portion of the project budget may already be gone before construction even begins. Maher points to this system as a major driver of sky-high housing prices. It's not just market demand. It's a framework that makes building so expensive and slow that only the wealthiest can participate, pushing regular people out of the city.
15% of workers in America work for the government. That's 24 million people with one shared vision: to fine you if your mailbox is too big. They say a conservative is a liberal who just got mugged, but it could also be a liberal who just got blocked trying to remodel a porch. Or got a parking ticket because their car was facing out instead of in. Last year, Wyoming began construction on the largest wind farm in North America that will power 2 million homes in Arizona, Nevada, and California. And to think, it only took 18 years. Not to build it, to approve it.
Maher also points to the case of a wind energy project designed to bring power from Wyoming to California, which took nearly 18 years just to gain approval. Despite constant political rhetoric about climate urgency, the project sat stalled in reviews, hearings, legal challenges, and regulatory revisions for almost 2 decades. By the time approval arrived, costs had increased and momentum was gone. Maher uses this example to underline a glaring contradiction. Leaders speak passionately about clean energy while maintaining systems that make building it nearly impossible. The process meant to protect progress ends up blocking it entirely.
There's an area where homeless people were urinating and defecating, and it was starting to annoy the people breaking into cars. So the city tried to build a public toilet last year, but then gave up when the cost hit $1.7 million. Not $1.7 million for a public toilet system, $1.7 million for one toilet. So then a private company took pity on San Francisco and offered to build them their toilet for free. But after, quote, project management, construction management, architecture and engineering fees, permits, civic design review, surveys, contract preparation, and cost estimation, the free toilet was still going to cost almost $1 million.
Another example Maher revisits is San Francisco's infamous public restroom project during Newsom's earlier tenure. Intended as a practical response to sanitation issues, it instead became a showcase of bureaucratic excess. Nearly $1 million went into planning, consulting, and administrative costs. Committees met, designs were reviewed, and studies were conducted. Then Maher asks the obvious question. Did the restroom ever open? Didn't. There was no finished facility. He uses this story to illustrate how government can burn through funds debating logistics while failing to deliver even the simplest outcome.
Semaphore estimates that if the red tape could be cut in everything that's currently stuck in the renewable queue, the United States would be 80% zero carbon in 7 years. The enemy to clean air isn't just big oil, it's big permitting. It's not that America isn't able to get anything done, it's that we're not allowed to. Of course, there should be consideration of the environment on everything we build, but as so often happens on the left, they seem to have no ability to recognize when they've taken a concept way too far and are in fact hurting their own cause.
Maher acknowledges that bureaucracy exists everywhere, regardless of political alignment. But he argues that states like California push it to an extreme. He points to the oil and energy sector, where layers of regulation, taxes, and compliance rules have made operations costly and unpredictable. Proposals such as additional profit taxes on energy companies come on top of existing environmental fees and requirements. As a result, California drivers face some of the highest fuel prices in the nation. Several major refiners have scaled back or exited the state altogether, citing regulatory pressure. These outcomes, Maher suggests, show how policy choices can drive investment away.
America's become Gulliver, the giant that got tied down with 1,000 tiny ropes by Lilliputians, the horde of little people who do big damage. Build back better? Sounds good. So does shovel-ready jobs. As Barack Obama once said, one of the biggest lessons he learned as president was there is no such thing as shovel-ready projects. Environmental impact statements used to be a few pages long. Now they're thousands of pages of legalistic nonsense and take an average of 4.5 years to complete, with thousands of bureaucrats filling out millions of paper forms that kill hundreds of forests to answer the question, is this good for the environment?
One of Maher's most memorable comparisons likens blue state governance to Gulliver tied down by countless tiny ropes. No single regulation causes collapse. Instead, it's the accumulation of thousands of small rules, permits, boards, and compliance demands. Each one seems reasonable on its own, but together they restrict movement entirely. Maher argues that leaders are trapped inside systems they created, unable to build or reform efficiently. Rather than flexibility and common sense, bureaucracy becomes self-perpetuating. What results isn't forward motion, but stagnation wrapped in good intentions.
Sure, there are people living in the streets, but that's because we want to make sure the apartments they don't live in are perfect. I don't fear AI anymore because it couldn't possibly be any more robotic than the humans who run things now.
Maher argues that the core problem lies in Newsom's unwillingness, or inability, to confront the bureaucratic machine he oversees. Rather than dismantling inefficient systems, state leadership repeatedly responds to failure by layering on more oversight, forming new committees, launching additional offices, and issuing fresh regulations that only complicate matters further. Maher's frustration is unmistakable. California is not short on innovative ideas, public support or financial resources. What it lacks is leadership willing to admit that the system itself is broken and in need of simplification. Critical challenges like housing shortages, delayed energy projects, and crumbling infrastructure persist not because solutions are unknown, but because reducing red tape has become politically risky. In this environment, bureaucracy is mistaken for progress, and expanding government is treated as action, even when it actively blocks meaningful results and leaves residents stuck waiting for change that never arrives.
So let me finish with this. Not that there was ever any reason to build it in the first place, and not that there would be any reason to do it again. But just as an exercise in realizing how far we've regressed as the can-do people, I think we should all try to imagine how it will go down if we tried to sculpt Mount Rushmore out of a mountain today. First, we'd have to make the mountain handicap accessible, so we could hire handicapped people to work on the side of a mountain. Then there'd be a 10-year delay while we studied the effect of construction noise on the mating habits of woodchucks. Then another 10 years to obtain ethically sourced dynamite and find a sculptor who doesn't only work from home.
To underline his point, Maher delivers one of his most effective analogies, joking that if leaders attempted to build Mount Rushmore today, the project would never move beyond the planning phase. What was once achieved through bold vision and decisive execution would now be buried under environmental impact studies, cultural assessments, legal challenges, and endless public hearings. Years would pass before a single stone was touched, while costs ballooned into the billions. The obstacle wouldn't be engineering limitations or lack of technology. It would be paperwork. Maher uses this example to argue that modern governance, particularly in heavily regulated states, has lost the ability to execute ambitious projects. Process has overtaken purpose, and compliance has replaced creativity. Instead of asking how to build, leaders focus on how to regulate, turning once great ideas into permanent planning exercises that never reach completion.
There's also many regulations that aren't necessary, I mean, you really don't believe that the state we live in, California, is lacking regulation. There's over 300,000 regulations. I mean,
Well, maybe they're needed.
They're not. When I tried to put in a garage door, I had to have 3 inspections. There should have been none. I should be allowed to change my garage door.
Are you kidding? Really? It was about a garage door?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that is...
No, you know this about California. Come
No,
on.
I don't.
Well,
I'm sorry, I don't.
You don't? You've never heard that California is overtaxed and overregulated? That we are a one-party state where there's sort of no checks on that sort of extreme leftism.
Ultimately, Maher's critique goes beyond humor or political rivalry. He's highlighting a governing model that speaks constantly about progress while struggling to deliver outcomes. From endless permits to stalled infrastructure and high-profile failures, the pattern is consistent. California isn't lacking talent or resources. It's tangled in its own systems. Maher's message reflects a frustration shared by many residents who feel government focuses more on managing procedures than solving problems. His warning is simple. Without meaningful reform and simplification, decline won't be mysterious. It will be self-inflicted. And that brings us to the end of today's video. If you found this breakdown useful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us next time.